Are you going to keep hitting one across there? And it's there by Collingwood!
Brightwell. Quinn. Hoping to get it down for White and come for David White now. Can he keep the run going? He has done. David White has been dynamite.
Good afternoon and welcome to Match Day Live. It is leg 2 of our Arsenal double header, and you can see on the screen there as the men's team arrive at the Emirates. It is a huge Premier League clash today, and there is Stefan Ortega. He is in the building, as is Josko Vardiol. And you know what? We're going to give you the team news the second that we're allowed. So that's in about 3 minutes' time. But because you're here nice and early, we'll give you a little sneak peek preview. And I can tell you that Omar Marmoush does start today. So I know that is the name that was on everybody's lips after the Chelsea game. And he does start today. So there is Ilkay Gundogan as well. Of course, we will give you the team news the second that we are allowed to. But today is a huge, huge game. Of course, our rivalry against Arsenal has intensified over recent years. And, you know, City are now unbeaten in 6 Premier League games. Only Newcastle have more points since Christmas than us. Check us out after that horrendous run. We are back. And you can see the new players as well. I'll let you know if anybody else is starting today. There is Matheus Nunes and Jack Grealish. Do you know what? Should we do the team? All right, 5 seconds. I'm going to give you the team for today. So, City's starting 11 is, and in goal it is Stefan Ortega. And then Matheus Nunes. John Stones starts. Manu Akanji. And Josko Vardiol, the attacking threat that he is. And, of course, Mateo Kovacic. And our captain today is Bernardo Silva. Savinio. And there he is, Omar Marmoush. Phil Foden in the extraordinary form that he is in. He starts, and of course, Erling Haaland. The Arsenal fans will be looking forward to seeing him. It is Erling Haaland, of course, starting for City. Welcome to Matchday Live. Thank you so much for joining us. It is the first time you're joining us today. Welcome. If this is your second time or for today's double header, Paul and I are so happy to see you again. Thank you very much for joining us, because I am in the studio joined again by Paul Dickov. Did you have a nice little lunch, a little kip?
Yeah, a little old man's power nap. I had a little 40 minutes and then I was all right. Yeah.
You're looking energetic.
Ready to go again.
Ready to go.
Yeah,
Can't
always.
wait.
Yeah.
And we are joined in the studio by a special guest today, a man that's making his Matchday Live debut. We are so excited to have him because both of our guests today played for City and played for Arsenal. Both of them played internationally, one of them for Scotland and one of them for Wales. So we're so excited. We've got John Hartson with us.
Thank you very much. It's really nice to be here. Me and Paul played together at Arsenal, by the way. Same team.
Have you got lots of stories about Paul that are shareable?
Maybe not so shareable. Lots of stories, but I
the good old
to
days,
share
mate,
half
wasn't it?
of them. Yeah,
The good old
Great
days.
days they were.
Have you got any stories in return that you can
Shareable?
share? No?
Absolutely not, no.
Well, it's a delight to have you both
What
today.
happens at Highbury stays in Highbury. doesn't it?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
mate.
I can believe that. I can well and truly believe that. So we've had the City team news. Also, if you're wondering, Blues, in terms of substitutions, it's Carson Grealish, De Bruyne is on the bench, Gundogan, it is Vitor Heiss is on the bench, Kushinov, O'Reilly, Lewis and McAtee. So the two new defenders both on the bench today, as well as Kevin De Bruyne. That, of course, means that Bernardo Silva is the captain today. So, Paul, what's your instant reaction to that team news?
Yeah, strong team. Let everybody excited to see Marmoush again. I thought he was really good against Chelsea. Showed us glimpses of what he can do. Gives us something a bit different as well. You know, we've got some fantastic technical players. I think recently we've missed somebody that's going to stretch the game. He's shown that he can do that from wide or whether he's more central. It'll be interesting today whether Phil plays wide or central and Marmoush, or whether they just flip it around a little bit. Obviously Kevin not in the team, but I think it's probably just managing his minutes a little bit. You know, he's looked a little bit jaded the last couple of games towards the end. But yeah, strong team.
I mean, considering that we've got two great strikers in the studio today, it would be fitting to start talking about the attack. John, Erling Haaland, of course, leads the line again today. He has, despite City having a slow patch this season, he still remains one of the league's top scorers. What have you made of him since he joined City, and what are you expecting of him today?
Well, I think he's when he first joined, he was, I wouldn't say raw, but he'd scored an awful lot of goals for Dortmund, and he comes into City with a big massive price tag. He's not really played, you know, like he's feeling that price tag. He just likes to get on with his football. I think he's improved in certain areas. I think he likes to get hold of the ball now. When he first came in, the ball used to come into him, and he'd be almost flicking it, you know, right and set and left. You know, he runs in behind. He's so quick, and predominantly when he gets an opportunity, he makes no mistake. But as I said, he's improved in certain areas of the game. There he goes there, sees the space, great run, playing off the shoulders, and a great finish with the outside of his left foot. And he's got so many attributes to his game. Left foot, right foot. He's technically very, very good. And he's improved his heading ability. You're thinking, I'm saying he's improved. You're thinking he couldn't really improve in many areas, but Pep doesn't work like that. If there's any area of his game that his manager will feel he can help him with, he certainly have done.
That was Erling Haaland's 100th goal for Manchester City that we just saw, by the way, and of course this is his goal against Chelsea. In terms of the game today, Paul, we know that Haaland and Saliba have enjoyed a few battles over the last few years. We'll give you the Arsenal team news in a moment as well. Presuming Saliba's playing, that's going to be an interesting battle again today.
It is, and Gabriel as well. So it's going to be a little bit spicy, I think, between them. There's a little bit of needle, there's no doubt about it. Obviously, well documented the game at the Etihad at the end, where Erling was a little bit cheeky when we scored and knocked the ball off his head. Then Gabriel comes out and says it.
Do you know what? I forgot about that one. It was the other one that I remembered.
Yeah. And then Gabriel comes out and says that he's looking forward to the return at the Emirates today. So it's going to be great. That's what we want to see, though, isn't it? We want to see battles. I think
mind a bit of needle, actually.
Yeah.
He's like the perfect man to talk about needle, isn't he? Yeah, he knows all about it there. Love that goal as well. you know, obviously the Ederson assist as well. Do you think that's something City might look to try again today, for Stefan Ortega to play the ball long up to Erling Haaland?
Yeah, and then it's important not just for Haaland to get a hold of the ball, it's important that he gets support, because I've played that role many times myself, and sometimes if you're up there on your own and one defender will compete against you, the other defender will drop off. So he needs runners. He needs runners off, you know, to play into and to get hold of, and just, you know, create that sort of extra sort of help that he need from that long ball. But certainly that's one of the tactics they'll play. They won't always lump it into Haaland. There'll be a sort of method in terms of hitting his chest and getting runners off him.
I think John was right before. He's improved in that, especially this season. You know, when the ball's, you know, he's a wonderful goal scorer, but the ball wasn't always sticking when it was coming up to him. But this season, when it goes into him, I know it's something he's worked on a lot. We've seen that. And it gives us the option to go a bit longer as well.
Of course it does, and not only just pulled from the goalkeeper, but even from, you know, the full-backs here. You don't really see them playing long too often, but I just think if it's on, you know, if the full-back can clip it into the centre-forward's chest and he's got Foden running across him and he's got a great touch and he can play it first time, there's nothing wrong with that play in that. It's not really a long ball, it's from the full-back into the front. I think that's a ball that's not used often enough. But if Haaland's got space in front of him with defenders behind him, nothing wrong with playing that ball.
Oh, absolutely as well, yeah. And if you've got Pickford in your fantasy football team, you saw yesterday he got an assist. I was very happy with that as well, Paul. In terms of City's attack against Chelsea, was I going a bit mad, or could I have described at times the formation as 2-3-5?
Yeah, but I think the attacking players we've got as well. Today we've got Bernardo Silva. He will play centrally, maybe a little bit deeper, but he can pop up anywhere in the pitch. Obviously Phil is on fire at the minute, Marmoush, and then obviously Sabinho, who came on. He changed the game against Bruges at half-time, so the talent we've got, I'm really interested in how both teams set up today, because Arsenal, the last 3 games, including the one at the Etihad, the 2 last season, that we played against them, they sat really, really deep and looked at City in the counter. And the season before that, when they tried to press and go man for man, we just, like we're talking about there, Ederson just kept going longer to Haaland.
And I think as well, where Man City normally have the lion's share of possession, they normally dictate possession. I think they'll have to give up some possession today against Arsenal. Man City generally only play one way, and that's to go forward, to create overlap, you know, full-backs, and catch it back from that line, and then the midfield players arriving at the perfect time. But I think today Arsenal will have a lot of the ball as well. So it's important, however good Foden, Mamouche, Bernardo, however important they are going forward, they're going to certainly today have to get goal side when Arsenal are counter-attacking, because you've got to get numbers back to help the defenders out.
Yeah, you mentioned the full-backs there in terms of Vardiol and Núñez, certainly against Chelsea. They were so high up the pitch for such a large proportion of the pitch. I think if I'd have seen their heat maps, I don't know if we'd have guessed that they were defenders if we hadn't have known. You mentioned Marmoush before. I'd love to have a good old talk about him, Paul, because of course he made a real impact in that Chelsea game. Pep made some really interesting comments about him after the game as well, saying that he'd made some incredible movements into the middle that the players couldn't see, and that it was going to take time for him and us to get used to each other for what he likes, and so the players know what he liked. In terms of that, I mean, he made a lot of runs, so we're only going to see probably more and better the more they get to know each other.
Absolutely, and you know, watching the game from a little bit higher up as well, his movement was fantastic off the ball. And there's a couple of times, you know, although he was playing a little bit deeper and coming from out to in, sometimes out wide again, his movement was like a centre forward. You know, if he wanted the ball in behind, he was coming short all the time. As soon as the defender came in, he was spinning back in behind, and vice versa, opposite movement all the time. And he's so unlucky here, but it just shows you that he can sniff a goal out. I really like the look of him. He had loads of good things about him, and the good thing is he's had a week at the club now. You know, last week I think he'd only trained a couple of times, if that. So the more he gets to play with his teammates, the more he gets to train with them. He's going to be a superstar.
Yeah, he doesn't just look like he can create and he can run forward. He wants to score a goal.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't have enough players that are goal threats for you. You know, like Foden. Gundogan doesn't get as many. Maybe he predominantly sits. You know, he creates, but like Marmoush, a lot of these clips that we see, and he's wanting to get himself in that box and go and get himself a goal.
I think it'll take the pressure off Erling a little bit. Because a lot of our focus going forward is Erling Haaland and taking him out of the game. Now with his movement in and around Erling, teams are going to have to be more aware, and it might drag the other defenders out and leave a lot more space for Erling to get him behind.
And he's really fast as well. Like, I'd heard that, but obviously seeing him in the Chelsea game, he was fast. Only Nunes was faster than him on the day, so it's 35 kilometres per hour. So Nunes is, and we know how fast he is, his fastest speed in the day. And Marmoush was on 33. I mean, he's quick.
It is, and if anything, the one thing we've maybe missed this season is a little bit of pace, a little bit of energy, and he's got that in abundance.
Yeah, absolutely. There are also other games taking place today as well, by the way. 2 other Premier League games currently on. The scores are currently Brentford 0, Tottenham Hotspur 1, and Manchester United 0, Crystal Palace 1. That's the reason I wanted to immediately tell you what the scores were when the game's only 69 minutes gone. In terms of the other cities, so if we're looking at the front there, we mentioned Marmoush, we've mentioned Haaland, of course, quick mention on Phil Foden, but in terms of his form, Paul, he's back to the Phil Foden that we loved and adored always, but of course last season.
He is, and people were saying, well, loss of form and everything else. People forget he was injured. He was out ill for an amount of time as well, and it's going to take him time to get back into the swing of things again. But I think up until, I know Chris Wood got a hat-trick yesterday, but I think he'd scored the most Premier League goals since the turn of the year than any other player.
I like that start.
So,
let's go with it, Paul.
Yeah, he's just even if I've made it up, we'll just go with it anyway. But I don't think I have. But he's such a wonderful player.
Such a clever player. He makes runs forward. His timing of his runs is excellent. His touch is terrific. That left foot that he has it's almost like wand-like, isn't it, with the way he cuts inside when he plays. Predominantly, he used to play a lot on the left, but this season he's played an awful lot on the right, where he can cut inside on that left foot. And his balance, a couple of years ago, we was talking about him being so young, but he's got that little bit maturity about him now. He's played a lot more Champions League games, played for his country quite a lot, so that's a terrific player. I love watching Foden.
Oh, me too. Me too.
Watching him.
Don't want to tempt fate. He's got a decent record against Arsenal, I think, as well.
Hey, you're coming out with all the stats today. Yeah.
I do my research every now and then.
You're like David James, you.
You do more than me, then.
Not quite.
Don't say that.
OK, so that is the City team news for today. You can see the starting 11 across your screen. Let's have a look now at the Arsenal starting 11 for today. So in there it is Raya, and it's Timber, Gabriel, Saliba, Lewis Skelly, Partey, Rice, Odegaard, Trossard, Martinelli and Havertz. And the substitutes are on your screen, and Zinchenko and Sterling both on the bench. Of course, former Manchester City players jumping out there on the bench as well. So that is the starting 11 for Arsenal. Of course, Lewis Skelly in the team after his red card was overturned in the week as well. So Odegaard is the captain for Arsenal today. So, John, that was big news for Arsenal to get that Lewis Skelly red card overturned in the week, because he's been such a key player for them this season.
Well, he has, and he's one that has come through the system at Arsenal. It's always great when you can produce, some players who can come through, nurtured as a young kid, will obviously grow and know how the first team plays. So he'll just get into that straight away. So that was good for them. You don't want any sort of interruptions in terms of the team that you want to play. Keep him in the side. He's obviously back in from Wolves last week, but Trossard, Martinelli and Havertz as well, the front three, they'll cause a lot of problems. Gabriel and Saliba, the two centre-backs, they are accustomed to playing with each other. They don't change a lot. Both of them are fit and available. They tend to play, which creates that consistency and, the fact that they've got partnership. Using that partnership, they know each other's games very, very well. So Arsenal are a very strong side. They're up there. They want to keep pushing. They'll still have aspirations of catching Liverpool. So obviously, I think they're still going well in the Champions League as well. So, as I said, I think Manchester City will have to defend really strongly today. We know how good they are going forward. They create opportunities. But today, I feel Arsenal at home at the Emirates, they'll be pushed on by that fantastic home crowd that they've got. And I really feel, more than anything else, today Man City have to defend really strongly. They all have to be in sync, set pieces. Arsenal have got that new set piece coach. They score a lot of corners. So today, for me, I think Man City will have to defend really, really strongly to get a result today.
Are you slightly surprised Manieri's not starting? I know we said Trossard, Martinelli, Havertz are strong, but during the week I thought he was outstanding.
Yeah, he was outstanding. Obviously, in the loss of Saka as well, it's similar to losing Rodri, isn't it, for Man City? He's everything used to go through Saka, so the quicker they can get him back. I'm not quite sure how long more he's got before he gets back fit. But yeah, he was fantastic in the week, wasn't he? But Trossard also comes in, big signing from Brighton, so he's not done anything wrong since he's been at Arsenal.
Yeah, he got the goal in the week, of course, as well. I was trying to work out the amount of changes, but absolutely loads, basically, because Arsenal were able to rest loads of players in the midweek, of course, including Lewis Skelly as well. So loads of changes is the answer there. In terms of that defence that you were talking about, John, Gabriel and Saliba, Paul, have been this incredible centre-back partnership for the last few years now, and Arsenal have had this incredible defence. And last season, particularly, the best defence in the league, clean sheets constantly. It's not been that way this season. They've not had as many clean sheets this season at all. They are conceding more goals than they usually do. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think teams are not scared of them as a centre-back partnership as well. I think previous years there was, and they're both wonderful players, and as John said, when they play together they are fantastic. But what I've noticed when players are getting one-on-one, it's a little bit like Van Dijk sometimes, and I think it gets in your head a little bit when the centre-forward faces them up. They think, it's Van Dijk or it's Saliba or it's Gabriel. You tend to go back and not be as brave. But I've noticed a tiny little shift that when teams are getting at them, that they're not stopping. That fear factor's not quite there for them, and they are conceding a lot more goals because of that. Look, they're fantastic players, and they'll have a right battle in their hands today with Erling there. I can't wait for this, Natalie, honestly.
Me too.
Going up against the two of them.
Me too, especially with the little needle as well, because you know that Erling's going to remember that, and you know very much that they are as well. John, are they going to be remembered as one of the best centre-back Premiership pairings ever?
Well, we played with a couple of decent defenders, Tony Adams and Martin Keown.
Steve Boldy.
And Boldy as well used to come in. I think when Vincent Kompany was here, he was a rock. And I think that's what Man City have probably lacked. And Adams, John Terry, a real rock in the defence. I like John Stones. John Stones could play as a,
I'm delighted he's back today.
As a deep lying midfield player. He could play right back. He's a very good footballer, but he's not that commanding rock that Kompany give you. And I think Man City have looked to get when they've got Diaz, of course, who was out, was a fantastic player. But I think in terms of having a regular partnership, them two, Saliba and Gabriel, there's not many better than that. I tell you why, because they know each other so well. Football is all about partnerships, and midfield partnership, and they cross over, centre forwards and wingers, they get to know each other. And I just think, I know the game is different now, sports science, if you're in the red zone or if you're not quite carrying an injury, whereas back in the day, it's completely changed. I hate harping back, but managers would never change. If you won one game, and as a forward, if you scored, you wanted to play. You don't want to be left out, But nowadays, almost you're coming off because there's a sports science guy saying, look, he's beginning to get into the red zone, or he's beginning to get a bit tired. They can tell he has to come off. That didn't happen before, so the game has changed, probably for the better. But as I said, going back to Saliba and Gabriel, they'll have their hands full today, by the way, against Haaland, but they'll have to... can they keep him quiet? That's the big question, isn't it?
Saliba and Gabriel have their hands full with Haaland, and then Timber's going to have his hands full with Marmoush. That is going to be an interesting battle.
It is. It will be. Whether Phil might be out on that side, we don't know. Could be Sabinho on that side, we don't know. But that's the beauty of the three now that's in there behind Erling. They can all rotate. I'm pretty sure you'll see Phil centrally. The next phase of play, you might see Marmoush in there.
Freedom to roam. Footballers, they don't have to be told. After 10 minutes, so Foden will change. He'll go wide. He'll come on the right, and they've got freedom to do that. Pep will just be saying to some of them, "Look, just go and affect the game." I don't have to tell you when to move. You're all intelligent players. You know, Foden might just drift a bit closer to Haaland at times. The only person that'll probably stay in the same position is Haaland. You'd have to keep them two centre-backs.
Stefan, that's it, yeah.
And play within the width of that penalty box. But
Johnny, we sit here every week and we try and work out what formation Pep's going to play and who's going to play where. And 99 times out of 100 we're wrong, aren't we?
Stopped asking you now because it's just, it's just pointless. Before we move on, just a quick word on Arsenal's attack, because of course it remains a talking point in every transfer window. Obviously they rumour to have put a bid in for Ollie Watkins, which just seemed ridiculous to me, for 60 million with 3 days of the window to go. Havertz will be playing up front today, but Arsenal fans have been calling out for them to sign an out-and-out striker for, I mean, years and years now. What do you make of the attacking situation, or the striker situation at Arsenal?
I think that's the one place they're lacking. I like the midfield. You know, Partey, Odegaard. I think is just a wonderful player. Declan Rice has been great. You know, Martinelli, Saka when he's fit, as good as anything else in the league, really. But Havertz has done a good job. Yeah. But I do think that's, you know, if they had an out-and-out number 9, a goal scorer like the big man here was, put balls in the box, get it up to him, he can hold it up, sniff out. Yeah. You know, little tap-ins, things like that. That's the sort of things where they've been lacking in.
They probably thought they had one when they signed Jesus, and they paid £50 million for Jesus, and obviously started off really well, got injured, obviously still at the football. I didn't quite see his Jesus up today.
He's done his ACL.
He's injured, right, okay.
So yeah, he's out again.
Even with that, Johnny, Gabby when he was here wasn't an out-and-out number 9, you know. And I do think the last couple of seasons they have fell short in it, and I think that could, if they don't sign somebody, I know they've only got till tomorrow now, that could be their Achilles heel again.
Yeah, I feel like almost the Watkins bid was just to appease the fans, like, we tried.
Yeah, I think they'll go back in for Watkins. I think the initial bid was 60 million. I watched him against Celtic in the week there for Aston Villa. In the last Champions League game, he was terrific. His movement, strength, you know, become other than Kane now. He's really pushing Kane for that number 9 berth for England, and terrific, strong. You can see he's, you know, since he went from, I think it was Brentford, wasn't it? I think Arsenal will come back in for him, and he could be the man that they're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, that's the Arsenal team news. We do have, if you're wondering where FG is today, because usually you've seen his lovely face by now, he's just having a bit of a chill day down in London, but we are going to get him doing some work, because you mentioned a centre-back pairing that you both played with at Arsenal, and of course the key to that would be Tony Adams. And you know what? FG's only gone and found him at the Emirates. So FG and Michael Brown are chatting to Tony Adams.
Yes, thank you. Joining us pitchside is Tony Adams. Tony, thank you so much for joining us on Matchday Live. And we're going to discuss the rivalry, the developing rivalry between Arsenal and Manchester City. Where do you see it now?
Well, you've been stopping us win the league for the last couple of years, haven't you? You've been a thorn in our side, talking from a Gooner's perspective. But amazing squad. I think both squads have really been affected with injuries. The amount of football that both squads have played, you know, European Championships, World Cups, and both teams have really suffered, I think, from injuries lately. And big players like Saka for us, Rodri for you, you know, there's some players. But I think you guys, with the multi-club system that you've got going on and with the wage bill, I don't think it's a matter of time before you're up back at it and being number 1. But this year, I think you're going to have a year off, huh?
Well, it definitely looks that way.
I don't know about that. Yeah, there's a long way to go for Arsenal, for Man City, for Liverpool, etc. But, you know, the development's still there from the football club, isn't it? The style of play, Mikel Arteta, the reign that he's got, some exciting young players coming through, which must impress you as well.
When, he's come on board. And, I think we've just not had the strength of the squad, you know, in-depth talent, like the Man City in the last few years, you know, the thing that's put it to one side, because there's, like you said, particularly, they got similar styles of play, you know, with Arteta and Pep. They play the same. They want to get the ball down. They do a lot of rotation. Fullbacks pop inside, and it's very entertaining. And it's very, you know, they try and patiently create the ball from left side to right side to open up teams. It's very interesting. But I think Arsenal, what's made the difference is the lack of quality in depth for Arsenal. So when it's come to the end of part of the season, we've fallen to bits.
You were a leader, obviously, that what you did with the Arsenal side. Is there a particular person who you think can carry Arsenal? Who's the real leader, or is there a couple?
Well, I think last year Declan Rice was a magnificent signing for us. You know, it took us to another 100 million, but we got value for money for that one. You know, and he went in front, a bit like I used to have Patrick Vieira, Manu Petit back in the day. Someone that just sat in front of the back four and made them look good. Also, the back four last season was probably the best in the league with Ben White, and we just got Timber fit, and we thought, whoa, yeah, him a left back. What a back four unit, because as you know, the sum of the parts is always better than the individual. So you talk about leaders. I think that back four last year was as good as it's going to get. You know, they were really strong. They were all leaders. Gabriel and Saliba's best partnership in the league. And, you know, on every given year, if we had kind of kept fit, it's the other end of the pitch is really Arsenal's been suffering.
I mean, with the league the way it is right now, of course, you've mentioned Man City, of course, have won 4 in a row. Liverpool are there at the top.
Get that in.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. We say it 4 times.
We do
every
try
interview.
to sort of slide that in.
Of course, absolutely. But I mean, Arsenal have been brilliant. Like, they pushed City all the way last season as well. Do you see this season as a little bit of a missed opportunity, or just another year of development under Arteta?
There's been progress over the last couple of years, but I am very worried. I sat here, you know, at the end of last season when you guys had won the league and we fell short again, and when this group of players need to get over the line at some stage. You know, 3 times a bridesmaid, never a bride, you know, and it's getting to the stage where actually, guys, you know, that's the competition in front of you. You keep on coming up short. What is the reasons for that? And for me, it's the lack of quality, depth of talent backing up. Every time I won a title, I've had 3 central defenders of unbelievable quality. You know, the first time I won it, myself, David Leary, Steve Bold, you had a spare.
It's all about the defenders.
There you go.
See, it's all 4 in a row, defenders.
Listen,
we all slide them in when we want to, don't we?
Back 4 in the league, wins it every year.
Hey, there's been a bit of sort of rivalry, though, hasn't there? A little bit of spice between the two clubs. We've seen, obviously, recently in the draw at the Etihad. How do you see that?
That's credit to Man City, to be honest with you, because our rivalry, when we were winning things, was Chelsea. At the very start of my career, it was Liverpool. They were champions after champions, so we were up against them. And then because you're going for titles and winning stuff, it does get a bit feisty because we want to win and you want to win, and it's like, whoa! And then it was Chelsea when Abramovich came in, and then Man United in between that, the class of '92. So they became your rivals. When you're going for first and second place in the league, it gets a bit feisty, and rightly so. You know, you want to kick these boys off the pitch. No, sorry about that.
Do you know what's interesting? We've got 2 strikers in the studio, John Hartson, Paul Dickov. How would you have dealt with them 2?
We could have done. Arsenal could have done with either of them at the moment.
About them as well. You'd have sorted them right out, wouldn't you?
To be honest with you, they had great players like Ian Wright in front of them, and Thierry Henry and Nicolas Anelka and all these kind of guys. But Arsenal's really missing that kind of centre forward at the moment. And my knee's still struggling, John. He took my cartilage out in '96, bless him, and I'm still struggling today.
There you go, see, I knew there'd be one.
Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. We'd like to welcome you to our studio in Manchester whenever you're ready, and you can join them guys in the studio as well. We're going to head back there now. Any questions for Paul Dickov before we head back, or even Mr. Hartson?
No, hopefully you guys won't be winning too soon and keep coming up second.
What a quick one before we go. How do you see the game going today?
We didn't even speak about that, did we?
Just going to get that in now.
I think you guys it's over for you guys. You could absolutely...
So we can just relax and take the points today then. That would be great. Thank you very much, Tony.
I think it's a 3-0 win Arsenal, really.
Yeah,
have it 3, hat-trick. There you go.
He has to say that, that's why. All right, we're going to head back to the studio. I'm sure the guys in the studio will have a lot of good words to say about this man.
Thanks so much to FG and to Michael Brown. I don't know if we'll see FG and Michael Brown again this show because they're just having a lovely time down in London just relaxing. But they did manage to get that great interview with Tony Adams. And immediately, John, I want to know, did you take his cartilage?
No, what it was a couple of weeks before the Euros 1996, and it was a block tackle. You know, the ball was there, and both myself and Tony, we just both went for it with the inside of your side foot, and we almost made contact straight away with the ball. And sometimes when you do that, your knee can open out and it gets your medial ligament, it's called. And that's what happened. And Tony sort of went over. But it could happen to me. It can happen any day in training. It was just one of those things where obviously the knee opens up and it kept them out for the Euros. But there was nothing intentional in it. It was just one of these freak moments. And Tony was a captain of England and everything else, and so I got a bit of stick for that. But I genuinely, there was no harm done. It just,
if you believe that, you believe anything.
It was just the way it was.
Yeah, it didn't take any stick off the Welsh, though, did you? No, just the England
But I've got to say, Tony Adams was a great man, not just as a player. He was a real leader.
Brilliant.
Both played with him in the dressing room. We know he would give team talks, and the hairs on the back of your neck was that. He's a real man amongst men, Tony, and not just what he was like on the pitch, but to deal with all the his health problems and one or two issues that he had. And the clinic that he's opened up in Forestmere in Southampton, he's helped thousands and thousands of footballers with different problems, different issues you have in the game. So he's helped so many, not just himself, but the way that he's broadened it out and set up that clinic is absolutely amazing. He's a great man.
It was so welcoming for young kids going into the first team squad as well,
Paul,
because it can be a bit daunting. Going into a changing room with Adams, with Bold, Dixon, Seaman, Winterburn, and then you've
just
got
a little bit Keown.
Yeah, Martin Keown, then you've got Ian Wright, Dennis Bergkamp. It can be a little bit daunting, but Tony made sure that he looked after you and integrated you into the squad so well. He's a top man.
What was he like in training? Was he full throttle in training?
It was everybody was, Johnny. It was the way it was. You had to train as you played every single day. There was none of these sports scientists telling you not to tackle and everything else. When you train properly. And if you didn't train properly, the manager didn't have to tell you, because Tony would be the one that would pull you aside and say, come on, we need to be at this today.
It was quite interesting because we would go out as a group of players and we would have a circle with two in the middle. And me and Paul were always the two youngest, so we would start in the middle. But then they used to be quite light, quite gentle, and then we'd all see George Graham in the distance coming out of the changing rooms. He'd be about half a mile away.
And the intensity.
And he had this red jacket on, so you could see George. And the closer that he got, it was all like bang, 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 bang. So it's just as Paul said,
people smashing each other, everything.
Yeah, because it was like almost get away with it until the manager comes, and then. But I think a lot of the lads, I don't know what they do now, but we used to see it as we used to train as you play.
Yeah.
Train as you play. That was the habits that we were always taught.
There was a famous story about Kolo Touré when he was a youngster doing a two-footed tackle in training, in Arsenal training. Did either of you do that then when you were young and you were in the circle? Did you go in on anyone?
Absolutely, yeah. That's what it was all about.
I think we were both competitive, and the game's gone a bit soft now, isn't it? I think the referees, I think a lot of physicality has gone out of the game, and I think it's missed. No one's talking about going over the ball or elbowing people off the ball or all these stuff. There's nothing better as a supporter seeing two tough midfield players, just going for it, hammer and tongs all through the game. The crowd used to love that physicality.
Oh, we still do.
And I think some of that, an element, has been taken out of the game, that physicality.
But that's why it's so interesting today. We keep talking about Erling going up against Saliba and Gabriel, because any of them will want to give any way. They'll be full throttle at each other.
Oh yeah, I wish Ruben Diaz was playing today as well, because he's still a bit like that. I love it when he goes in with a big heart.
Natalie. I think you've got to have that, a little bit cynical. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing, not at all, not at all. Now, John, when we welcome new guests to the Matchday Live studio, the Matchday Live family, we like to spend a little time on their first show talking about them.
Okay.
So, we'd like to talk about you for a bit, please. So, you started your career at Luton August 1993. You then became the most expensive British teenager in 1995 when you moved to Arsenal for 2.5 million. Wow, that is a lot of money for a teenager. I mean, even now. What was that like when you go to Arsenal and you are an expensive teenager?
To be honest, Natalie, I was in a bit of a bubble because I think I was very young. I was 19 and I'd only ever played 52 games for Luton, and I was linked with several clubs. I remember David Pleat, the manager of Luton, saying to me, look, John, he called me in his office after training one day. He said, go home, have a shave, put a suit on. He says, we're going to meet George Graham. They've just bid £2.5 million for you. Didn't have an agent. Went along to Avenel Road, the Holdaway Road on the way to Highbury from Bedfordshire in Luton. All of a sudden, I meet Ken Fryer. I go into Marble Halls. David Dean, we go upstairs. I wasn't bothered what I was getting, to be honest. It wasn't really about money. David Pleat acted as I didn't have an agent, and it happened like that. But in terms of how did I feel, a player's never got an option or a choice how much he's worth. I think that's between the two clubs. So the record and everything else. Great now, it's lovely to look back and say I was the most expensive team. There's a lot of teenagers in Britain, you know. So it's great to look back now. And as I said, Arsenal, terrific club to join from Luton. It was almost like a pipe dream, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It must have just been incredible. I can't believe you didn't have an agent either. That's so. And then you, of course, played for lots of Premier League clubs, including West Ham. You then did another record when you became Wimbledon's record signing.
I broke West Ham's record as well.
Oh, did you?
I was West Ham's biggest signing at that time, yeah. Harry Redknapp.
Wow. So you did teenager, West Ham's highest record, Wimbledon's.
And I went to Wimbledon 25 years ago, 1999, for £7.5 million. So what's that today, 25 years ago? That's as much as, not quite as much, I don't know what it's worth.
I'll ask Paul, what would £25 million, if he was in 99, what would he be worth today?
100 million easy,
Would be,
mate.
yeah. Has to be, yeah.
You think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, and out and out, there's a shortage of out and out strikers.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, and I'm breaking records. I think there's always that little bit of expectation, you know, because you're the record signing and things like this. And then I went to Celtic for £6 million. So in terms of, and as I said, I failed a medical at Rangers before I got to Celtic. Yeah, I know. Shouldn't really mention that one, but I did as well, yeah.
Can you imagine like the turning if you hadn't have failed that medical because the history that you have with Celtic, and that is where you're most well known.
It is, yeah. Yeah, I think so. And about 6 months before I went to Celtic, it was Dick Advocat, Sir David Murray were the two sort of chairman and manager, and I flew up from Cardiff in Sir David Murray's private jet. I'm ushered over to Ibrox, I have a scan, failed the medical, and then 3 months down the line, Martin O'Neill phones me up. I know all about your medical history, do you want to come and play for Celtic? And then I had 5 great years at Celtic, never put a packet of ice on my knee, and that was the medical they failed me on. But I had 2 back operations in that time, but I didn't have a problem with my knee. But I don't think it was, it was a conspiracy or nothing like that. I think generally something must have shown up on my knee for them not to take me. But yeah, I went on then. It was one of those sliding door moments, sliding doors moments. And I went on and played for this man's club, Celtic. He's a big supporter of Celtic.
Absolutely, we all know
Was
that.
that your team growing up?
Yeah, it was, yeah. Absolutely buzzing when the big man went there. Absolute hero. He is up there as well, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I bet. Do you know what? I bet the Rangers, I bet the Celtic fans love that. I bet they laugh at the idea that Rangers missed you.
Well, they used to say to me, when you score, John, against Rangers, run over to the away crowd and rub your knee, type of thing. But I never did that. You know, I thought that was a bit bigger than that. I never actually, I never even went there. I just thought my goals might just hurt them enough, you know.
Was there a rumour that Manchester United were in for you at some point as well?
Well, I think I was playing for West Ham and I scored 24 goals in the Premier League. I was 1 behind Andy Cole for the Golden Boot. And I think Sir Alex put it in his book that Brian Kidd had come to watch me play and then gone back to Sir Alex and said, I watched Hartson yesterday, and I think he's almost said my name, and then they never went with me. They then signed Dwight York. I think it was for 12 million, but what a mistake that was, wasn't it?
Oh man, there were so many great strikers back then.
Yeah.
Like
Hartson and Cole's got a better ring to it than York and Cole, innit?
Yeah, Cole did it right, Sheringham did it. But when you think about it, you're right. There was Sutton, there was Ferdinand, there was Wright, there was Sheringham, there was Viduka, there was so many big centre forwards, if you like, and then, you know, probably Lukaku, you know, as well. So, and I think back then as well, Paul, there was always 2 up top.
Yeah. Big man, little man.
And the goalkeepers never, goalkeepers never threw it out. 20 years ago, everything was the big launch. You know, it was only maybe Man City, Liverpool that had always thrown it out to the full-backs, and you'd pass through, you know, with the European foreign coaches coming in with fresh ideas and systems and all this sort of stuff. But years ago, it was the big kick from the goalkeeper, and you'd be competing with the centre-back, you know, the Ruddocks and the Adams and the Keowns and the Hendrys of this world, and then the centre-forward would try and get onto your flicks.
Feed off, yeah.
Yeah, that's the way they played years ago, before we started playing out from the back.
Yeah. And you've won so many trophies on you at Celtic as well, of course, we should mention that. 4 premierships, 2 Scottish Cups, a League Cup. Is there one that stands out for you?
Well, I missed the UEFA Cup final as well in Seville. I played in 12 of the 13 games. I played in every game apart from the final against Jose Mourinho's Porto, where they won that game. And then Porto won the Champions League the year after as well, under Mourinho. So that was the one, that hurt me. But I'd never really won anything. I'd never had the chance to go up that rostrum, them steps at the end of a game and lift the trophy in front of the fans. And I always wanted to. So going to Celtic and winning Scottish Cups and league titles, and that was just that's just made my career in the end, because I was able to do that. And I thought the chance had maybe gone, because I played in 2 European finals at Arsenal.
Scored
in the second, but unfortunately we lost both. So I was not able to do that. But at Celtic, that gave me the opportunity to lift that trophy, which was a great feeling. Paul did it obviously when he got that brilliant sort of goal when they went through in the playoffs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that much.
We don't talk about that.
I like to talk about it.
So, I just mention it every
Talk
programme.
about sliding doors moments, Paul.
I know.
Great goal that as well.
Sliding doors moments, they're stuck in my head now, John, because if you had gone to Manchester United, you would not be sat there right now. And we are so very happy to have you here as well.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a real delight hearing about your career. Thank you so much. So the other two games that are taking place just now, Spurs have beaten Brentford. Palace are now leading Manchester United 2-0, and that's into the last couple of minutes of that game.
See, I love this, Nat, because you don't usually give other results out as the games go on. It's just...
I know, there was an obvious reason why I was doing that there. Yes. And do you know what? I think my little dig at FG has worked, because FG and Michael Brown have decided to do some work. That's very nice of them. We're going to go back now to pitch side at the Emirates to hear their thoughts ahead of the game.
Yes, thank you very much. Welcome back to the Emirates Stadium. We've just seen both team news, and we're going to start with the Manchester City team news. Joining us is the man who unpicks every single away team news and has done all season. For start, we've been told that Ederson has a little injury. That is the word on it. But we've got a great second-choice goalkeeper in Stefan Ortega.
Stefan Ortega's played more minutes recently as well, so that'll give him confidence. We know the ability that he's got is slightly different to Ederson. His one-on-one shot ratio is very, very good. So I don't think we have anything to worry about. We wish Ederson well. Hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later. So lots of choices. John Stones would be a main talking point. It's great to see him back playing as much as football as we possibly can. Was it going to be too soon? We were a little bit worried, weren't we? But he's there. Obviously Núñez gets another opportunity, whether it be at right back. This is always the one when we do these away games, right, is where is everybody going to play?
And guess what my next question
to you is? Where's Bernardo?
Where is Marmoush going to play? I mean, look, we're so grateful that we have players that can play in multiple positions. We say that all the time when we're playing away from home. The back four sort of we can work out. We're confident with the back four, we think. Looking at the midfield, we've got Bernardo, who's the captain this afternoon as well. He's so important in games like this, and he can do so much. Do you expect him to be alongside Kovacic, do you think?
Do you know what's funny in these games? You've got Pep as the master, obviously as the apprentice in Arteta, getting better and better. Are we going to see something different in any of the setups? We've been surprised before. We've seen man v man, and then we've seen high lines. We've seen different back to front quicker. We've seen patient build-up. We've seen Arsenal defend for their lives and not move. So there's lots of flexibility. Bernardo Silva, I think what he brings to me is that infectious sort of attitude to go anywhere around the pitch. If it's a wide position, he'll go on 1v1. He'll play with you that way. He can go next to Kovacic and play a 6. He's got flexibility. I'm dancing around it. I think he will be more in the midfield, FG, yes, than a wider position. Phil Foden could be one of those wider ones. Marmoush might get a bit of a role inside off Haaland, might be slightly different. He could also go wide, it's no issue, and then come in and join from the press. He likes to sometimes get 2 when the team are on build-up, so that might be Marmoush, and it might be Erling Haaland. And then you've got Savinho as well, right or left.
We saw some really good movement from Marmoush, didn't we? In his debut at the Etihad against Chelsea. He was running in between the lines a lot. He was really, really active, busy. I mean, how much do you think that'll benefit with the fact that, like you said, he's got the players like Savinho, who was so good off the bench midweek, and also Phil Foden in the wide areas, and of course Erling Haaland as well.
We have to take that risk, though. Do you know, make that pass. We've seen Kovacic step through in the middle and drive into positions, but when you've got that willing runner, whether it be from the side or on shoulders, you've got to go and try and slide that pass in. If it's Savio in a wide position, can he play that one in behind, and like maybe the 2 centre-backs, a midfield 8, we've seen Ilkay Gundogan done it so many times, but lots of flexibility. I think he's got a really big game ahead for Marmoush. I think he did well against Chelsea, and now he's got to perform on this big stage. Can he get a goal? Because that would really set his career alight.
Oh yeah, it'd be a great place to start. Is Manchester City accounts? Let's talk about the Arsenal team then, shall we? I mean, first things first, the left back is back in after probably one of the worst red card decisions I've seen. That wasn't a surprise, was it, to see that get overturned?
Well, you're not one of the ones who said it was a definite red card, and we've got to stick with it. All those ex-players, the guys will tell you in the studio straight away what that meant. Everyone laughed and said it's a ridiculous decision, and rightly so. It was changed. So you're just looking at their two centre-backs, aren't you? Yeah. They're so good.
They're so good from set pieces as well.
That's a huge point, and we'll have to work on them. You've seen what they do, whether they all go around the back post. They've got some great delivery, and they're growing in confidence with those. In the middle of the pitch is where I really like it, because I'm a midfielder. We've got two strikers in the studio. We've got a midfielder, Declan Rice. I think he can control the game on his own. Odegaard, Partey, whoever it may be in those middle three, I think it's really got a decent midfield, Arsenal. That's where we've got to try and stop the source. Obviously, the one that's missing for Arsenal, like we've got several missing, is Saka. That's been a big miss.
Of course. I mean, what do you make of Martinelli as well? Because he's been sort of under a little bit of criticism, but he seems to be playing really well. He just sort of sometimes lacks. I mean, Arsenal, all the Arsenal fans we've spoken to today have spoke about their forward line potentially lacking that clinical.
Number 9, are you going to say?
That clinical, the finisher. I mean, look, how important is it in a game like this to take your chances?
Well, you've got to, haven't you? But you've seen Havertz playing different roles, Martinelli. But they've gone and bid for Ollie Watkins, haven't they? I think that's up to 60 million. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. So they do want to strengthen those areas. And when you're a forward player and you're coming into a game like this and you know really that they want to replace you, you've got to really take this chance, grab it with both hands and make sure you set it alight. That's where they've been different here. For defensive sort of motions, they can do that, but going forward at times this season in the bigger games, we've got draws when they should have turned them into wins.
Do you feel a bit more of a pressure under you when you see potentially linked with people in your position, etc.? I mean, I'm not sure it would have happened to you in your career much.
Oh,
but,
it happened all the way through. Just as
do you feel more pressure and feel like it could be sort of your last game, and does that impact your performance sometimes?
I don't know if you would say you see it as your last game. If you're a regular starter, you might see it as one of those that you're not going to start. But this is Premier League football right at the top. We've seen it with Manchester City. Kevin De Bruyne is not in that team today for whatever reason. There might be a slight injury concern, I don't know. But he was like the mainstay, the big player who you'd never leave out. And this just happens. It evolves at certain times, whether certain months of the season you lose your place. And you've got to keep looking over your shoulder. It keeps you at your highest momentum. And they'll be trying to say, well, OK, I'm going to make sure today that when that new player comes in, if they can get someone, it's not going to be me. And I think that's what you've got there, haven't you? The flexibility to be able to move right across that front line.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be an interesting.
It's a great game.
Afternoon, a great game of football. We expect a lot of goals today, Brownie.
I hope so. I want to see a really entertaining game, but I'd also take 1-0, however it is. But we need 3 points.
We want to see. We want to be
points.
smiling at the end here, which we've had in recent years quite a bit. In particular, that year where we won the league here as well with Grealish scoring that goal. We're going to head back to the studio now. Those were our reactions to the team news.
Thank you very much to FG and to Michael Brown. You can see that the City players are out now on the pitch at the Emirates. They are doing their warm-up ahead of today's 4:30 kickoff. So you've got about half an hour till that now. As always, you will get your full match commentary on the Manchester City app. If you are not currently watching on there, that is the place to go. 4:30, Alistair Mann and Michael Brown will be on commentary for you. So join them for the best commentary that you'll get of this game today. So we are still in the studio here with John Hartson and with Paul Dickov, and we touched on the Manchester City attack earlier, of course, with 2 strikers. We mentioned the defence, but I thought only fair we give them some focus time now as well. And we briefly mentioned John Stone, we briefly mentioned some of the defensive pressures that we've been under. But in terms of today's game, Paul, obviously we know that City have been vulnerable on transition, vulnerable on counter-attacks this season. What do we need to do today to be as defensively solid as we can?
I think, we're talking about the back four, but I think Kovacic, Matteo is going to have to be really disciplined today. And it wouldn't surprise me at times if it's more of a 4-2-3-1 with Bernardo dropping in alongside Kovacic. And then it would be Phil, Marmoush, Savino, then Erling up there. But and one of the Phil or Marmoush, whoever's going to be central, they're going to have to drop back in and be really disciplined when they've not got the ball today. But that comes from the centre half. I'm buzzing John Stones back. I love him. I thought the other night there against Bruges he was outstanding. And and what he will do as well. You know, I think Arsenal's strongest point, I know we spoke about the centre halves, is probably the three in midfield.
Yes.
With Partey, Odegaard and Rice. And what John Stones can do, he can step into that midfield area and maybe create an overload in there as well. But he's just a wonderful, wonderful player. I love watching him. Delighted to see him back fit again, because it's been stop-start for him. And it sort of seems as soon as we get one of our centre-backs back fit, another one gets injured with Ruben. So, but him and Akanji have proven before that they're top-class central defenders. But I just think the players in front of them are going to have to be so disciplined to try and help the centre-halves out and try and stop the counter-attacks that we've been so susceptible to.
That's, of course, John Stones scoring in the last minute on the return fixture when it was 2-2 with Arsenal last September. Yeah, thank goodness Manuel Akanji's stayed fit for the majority of this season, because there has been so much chopping and changing. In terms of John Stones, as Paul was saying there, John, he's been such a pivotal player for us over the last few years. So strong in defence when he's been fit, which, of course, he was for the year that we won the treble, that incredible partnership they had. But also this moving forward, this stepping into midfield. He's such a versatile player.
He's an excellent footballer. That's what he is. Who can play. He's very. He can play in a number of positions, and as a manager, then gives you great options. You know, he's terrific centre back. He reads the game very, very well. He's great on the ball, so that means he can go and play in midfield, and he can look over his shoulder, and you know. And I like him when he's a centre back. He can fire it into a forward and he'll get on the half turn, and then he's straight on the attack. Then, if you like, but brave, goes and heads it. Not the biggest, not the most physical, but he goes and tries to put his head on the ball in both boxes as well. He can defend, and he's ever so good from set pieces for. So I really like John Stones. I think he's been outstanding for you, and yeah, he'll need to defend strongly today along with Akanji, because Arsenal, I think they will, create problems. It's important that Man City do it to the opposition all the time. But I think it's important that Man City today, they track runners, they don't let players run off their shoulder. What they do to the opposition, they have to turn that around today. They're at the Emirates, they're going to have to do a lot of defending, maybe double up on that left-hand side. When Martinelli is up against Nunes, Foden might need to come back, because Martinelli's so tricky, and Nunes can't allow Martinelli 20 yards or so to go and run at him, because he gathers that little bit of pace. He's so pacey as well.
Do you reckon it'll be a little bit like cat and mouse?
Could be, Paul,
because
yes.
Nunes will want to go forward.
Yes.
And does Martinelli go back with him, or does he get told to stay up for the space there?
And there's loads of
vice
battles.
versa,
There's loads of battles all over the pitch. You look at Gabriel against Haaland,
yeah.
sorry. And then you've got, Rice, Gundogan. And Arsenal have that little bit more physicality. You look at Partey, you look at Rice. But Gundogan's a little magician, he goes and plays, and so yeah, I think there's loads of individual battles going on around the pitch, and generally, whichever team has the most players to have won their individual battle generally comes out on top.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Nunes there, and I jokingly said before, Paul, will we playing in a 2-3-5, because Nunes and Vardiol on both sides were so high up at times in that Chelsea game, and of course Vardiol got on the score sheet again, and he's one of our most prolific attackers in that position. Yes.
Well, what a player! I love watching him.
Yeah.
It's not very often that, as a left back, well, that's your right back there, and then that's your left back.
Brilliant.
Pushing so high up the pitch, but you also go for somebody so young. He's just wonderful to watch. He plays more like a winger. I think he's the highest scoring defender in the Premier League.
Yep, no one has scored more than him, 5 goals this season.
I think I like the fact as well, he takes responsibility. Yeah. He doesn't just stand in the one place. He thinks he can get forward, he thinks he can get the rebound here, and he does that, and he marauds forward, he takes a risk. And sometimes, Pep can only say so much in terms of, I want you to be there, I want you to switch. But sometimes the manager will say as well, you're all top-class players. You're world-class players. That's why you're playing for City. Go and use your take responsibility on the pitch. Go to your old top players. If you think you can make a difference by going in there, go in there. And players are doing that. That's what they do at Man City.
I think it makes it more impressive that he's a centre half.
Yeah.
As well,
I know. That was playing as a left back.
Yeah, playing as a left back, left winger, centre forward sometimes.
Nothing you can't do, is there?
Nobody. There's some wonderful stats around this as well. So as we say, no one has scored more Premier League goals, no defender than Josko Vardio this season with his 5, and he's just the second defender to score 5+ goals in a single Premier League season for Manchester City since. Any ideas? I'll give you a clue, Paul. He's a Matchday Live favourite.
Steve Howe.
Steve Howe.
I don't think Steve Howe scored 5 goals in his whole career, never mind in one season. Wow.
The way you said that there, you were so confused. You're obviously thinking, well, Steve Howe's a defender and we like him, but really, is it him? And it was. He got 6 goals in the 2000-2001 season.
Yeah, no, he could score a goal. That was all the finishing he used to do with the forwards afterwards.
Is that right?
He used to always stay out and do it,
All that help you were giving him.
Absolutely.
All of that help. No side has more Premier League goals scored by defenders this season than City as well. 8 goals scored by our defence as well. I don't know what that says about us.
Well, it's good though, because if you're getting help from other areas of the pitch, it can certainly help.
Shows you everybody's
I have
chipping
to
in.
say, this season though, City have conceded 9 more goals than Arsenal. So it just goes to show in terms of how important it is today, because Arsenal will pose a threat. I keep saying this, that they're at the Emirates. Home advantage is massive today with the crowd pushing them on, and they'll feel they have an onus to go at City. I believe very difficult Man City break, and they've got terrific players. I love watching them play, but I think there'll be an onus on Arsenal today to go forward and create as much as they can because of the fact that they're at the Emirates.
They're going to have to weather the storm in the first 10-15 minutes because the crowd will be up for it, the players will be up for it. So City are going to have to be really, really patient in what they do. Concentration levels are going to have to be massive that first part of the game, and then who knows.
Yeah, in defence as well, you briefly mentioned it before, John, is Arsenal's set piece. To be honest with you, I'm sick of talking about Arsenal's set pieces this year. Everybody talks about it. The fact that we know that Nicolas Jova is the Arsenal set piece coach and that he's got a mural outside the Emirates is just nuts to me. But they have been incredible with their set pieces this season, and that is something we're going to have to be aware of.
We are in every team. We know about it. They know what they're going to do. The set-up very rarely changes, whether they all go at the back or they all go at the front. And teams know what they're going to do, but still find it really difficult to defend against it. But what they've got in Gabriel and Saliba, and Partey goes in there sometimes, Havertz, they've got people who want to go and head the ball. They've got a desire to go and do it, haven't they? When the ball's coming into the box.
They've got great delivery from either side, and obviously that's off the training ground. That's hours on the training ground working. Because they bunch up and then they all sort of move around and they all make different runs. And always a threat from set pieces.
Would you, if you were defending against them, would you try and upset? Because everybody does zonal now, don't they?
Zonal.
They all do zonal.
They all do zonal. I always preferred man to man because you took responsibility if you conceded a goal.
That's what I'm saying, Johnny. Nobody does that now.
Nobody does that now.
When they're doing a set-up and all of a sudden they're seeing people going man-to-man, they're going to be thinking, what's going on here?
And some defenders will go, well, actually, I stood where I was in my zone, somebody got across me, but if you stay with that man, you can always say, well, that's my responsibility to stop him scoring. Whereas in zonal, it can be difficult unless you've got really good, players who want to defend and take responsibility.
I just think it will confuse them a little bit because nobody's going man-to-man to them and they're letting them do what they want because they're in everybody else's zone. Or maybe sometimes you get your 4 best headers of the ball. It's maybe a bit old school, 4 or 5, and go and pick them up and see what they do. That's your man.
It's interesting, the fact that they've got a set-piece coach. Because you can have, over the years, I've heard of goalkeeping coaches, I've heard of maybe striker coach, possibly at some clubs, but a set-piece coach, that's just generally come in, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm sure somebody's thought about it in the last couple of years, but actually to be there, it's not just set pieces for, by the way. It's set pieces against. Yeah. And these will be free kicks from the halfway line. These will be free kicks that are curled in on the edge of the box, from an angle, not just corners and things like this. So it'll be a set piece coach covering all areas, and Arsenal have certainly improved that, haven't they, since he's been in there?
They are, but it winds me up though when you see these set-piece coaches thinking of the managers coming out of the technical area.
Everybody ran to him when Arsenal were scoring set pieces. They ran to him.
Do your job, know your place.
Run to him, you're right, yeah.
Do your job, know
they
your
don't
place.
run to the goal scorer anymore. They run to the
I know, exactly.
If I'd scored, I'd be like, what about me?
Yeah, I know, literally.
Hello.
Yeah, you're right.
Love that. Thank you. So that's a bit on the Manchester City defence as well. If you're just joining us, welcome to Matchday Live. You can see the City starting 11 on the bottom of your screen there, and you've got just over 15 minutes of today's 4:30 p.m. kickoff. If you're watching on the Manchester City app, you will get full match commentary from Alistair Mann and from Michael Brown. If you are not, get over there after we're done to get that commentary. Now, this week we found out who our opponents are going to be in the Champions League knockout stages. Was anybody actually surprised? I certainly was not, because we play Real Madrid every season, certainly for the last 4. I mean, that's what it feels like. Paul and I had a lovely trip to Madrid and then a heartbreaking game there a few seasons ago as well. But for you, Paul, so the dates, of course, you'll know by now. We're playing on the 11th of February at home, and then on the 19th of February at the Bernabeu, and that, of course, is for a place in the last 16. I, as being me, Paul, I'm nervous about it. You, being you, are confident about it.
Yeah, I am. I just think we're hitting a bit of form at the right time. By the time the tie comes around, hopefully we'll have Ruben Diaz back, Nathan Ake.
De Bruyne, a few minutes under his belt.
Yep, young Oscar Bob. Jeremy Doku, possibly as well. And then you put, Kuzanov, Vitor Risch and obviously Marmoush. Maybe one more to come in, we don't know. So the squad in itself is going to look a lot stronger, a lot more experienced. Phil's hitting form at the right time. Kevin getting a rest today, so he's going to be nice and fresh by the time that comes around. So, and I genuinely believe, I know we went out to Real Madrid last year, but we were by far the better team over the 2 legs. Madrid's the only Madrid team I've seen be defensive when they play against Manchester City. The Madrid team, all the wonderful players are attack. Last couple of seasons that they've came to us and they've been very apprehensive about how we're going to play, and I think the players fit other players back up to speed, and it's just going to be an amazing couple of legs.
It, of course, will be an amazing couple of legs if Real Madrid bother to turn up. Oh, I've been waiting to say that, Paul, since we did the draw.
Should we get the Ballon d'Or out for it?
Yes, absolutely. The amount of times I'm going to say Ballon d'Or at the Etihad Stadium on the 11th of February, you're all going to be sick of it. I thought I'm going to get a T-shirt with Ballon d'Or written on it as well, Rodri's face in the middle. But yes, in terms of Real Madrid, they're not invincible, so they were beaten yesterday in La Liga away to Espanyol, which obviously is a bit of a surprise out there. Atletico Madrid won, which means there's now only a point gap at the top between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. Other big news coming out of the game yesterday is that Rudiger picked up an injury and apparently is going to be out for a month, which means that Rudiger would miss both the games. Never wish that on anybody, but hey, I'm happy if Rudiger does not play against us.
Absolutely, and the other thing is people are talking about that is Real Madrid. They're just a wonderful club, the history, the Champions League and everything else, but they're in the playoffs as well. They didn't have a great campaign. They didn't make it into the top 8 when everyone would have thought they'd done. I think before one of the ties they've got the Madrid derby as well against Atletico, just a few days before the tie as well. So it's not all rosy for them at the minute. I know it's not been for us, but I just think the first leg at the Etihad is going to be absolutely bouncing, as it has been the last couple of seasons when we've played them. And I know I'm always super positive and overly biased, but I fancy that. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
So they have Atletico Madrid on Saturday, the Copa del Rey quarterfinals on Wednesday, then they've got Atletico Madrid on the 8th, and then they've got us on the 11th. So, yeah. That is a lot of games. And, of course, on the other side of that, Celtic have drawn Bayern Munich, which will be a very interesting, tasty game as well. I'm sure Celtic Park will be absolutely bouncing for that one. So we are less than 15 minutes now away from today's kickoff. We're going to head back over now to the Emirates, where FG and Michael Brown have found Frimpong, who, of course, is the Arsenal social media manager.
Yes, thank you very much. As you can see, me and Mr. Brownie have found Arsenal's representative, Frimmy. Welcome back, mate. Final thoughts. We're gonna do this with you. How are you feeling?
Confident, I'm very confident. You guys haven't been doing too well. So,
all right, go easy.
I'm just saying, haven't been doing too well, but listen, it's still Manchester City at the end of the day, and any game here against them is going to be tough. But I'm confident in Arsenal, and I'm confident we're going to do the business here. We're at home, so why not?
How are you going to win it then?
Kai Havertz is going to score 2 goals.
Simple as that. Just 2 goals from Havertz.
To be honest, you got to be scared of Martinelli and, of course, Skelly as well at left back. Absolute podgy, bad. And then Ethan, when Ethan comes off the bench, it's going to be a long day for you lot, so it is what it is.
All right, so let's talk about Manchester City then, shall we? Is there anyone in the Manchester City team, you know, the 4-in-a-row champions, who scares you?
Haaland. Like, he's scary. But also, you can't doubt Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne is absolutely amazing. So those are the 2 that scare me. The new boy, Mamus, he's looked crazy. Who did you play last? Yeah, absolutely mental. So he scares me a little bit, but I'm going to name your whole squad, to be honest. Bernardo Silva, but out of the 2, Haaland probably is the one.
So it's Haaland all the way, who obviously puts the worries for you.
Yes, definitely.
I think the pressure's on you. I think for City, they've got to come and control the possession, move it around. This crowd are desperate for something, aren't they? There's been a little bit of uncertainty your way as well.
The thing is, the crowd are always going to be behind the team, and now we're at home. When it comes to these games, they're always going to be behind the team. Yes, it's the you lot see. It's not going to be an easy game, but I feel like we're going to come through. We're going to do the business, and you lot wait. Yeah, you lot wait. It's going to be great. And if we do lose, you ain't going to see me.
Are you coming on afterwards?
Hell no. We're going straight home. But
we'll see you afterwards.
Yeah, I'll be out of here. But listen, it's going to be a great match, and I can't wait to see what goes on.
It's a brilliant game. It's set up, isn't it? So good for me watching the tactics, the 2 managers that can produce things that we're not even being able to think about yet, and players where they go on and play. There's this talk, isn't there, all around about Arsenal being the next level on a striker. Mm-hmm. They need the number 9. Is that something you're saying?
I feel like, especially with the striker that we've got with Kai Havertz, I feel like he gets a lot of stick. Like, it's probably been his best season scoring goals ever, and a lot of people get onto him and us for going out there and getting a new striker. He might need help, but he's doing a great job up front, and yeah, we need more Kai Havertz in the team, I think.
Well, Frimmy, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. I would wish you luck, but I'd be lying. Great to see you, mate, as always. Thank you for always joining us. If Arsenal don't get a result today, this will be posted on my Instagram as a reel. I'm sure Natalie will post it as well in the studio. We're going to head back there now. Thanks for joining us.
No worries, in a bit. Take care, guys.
He needs to come with more confidence next time, doesn't he, Mark Believe? Don't be so shy whenever you come back with this channel again. Yeah, come on.
Mate, much love, mate. Thank you very much. Let's head back to the studio.
Thanks a lot to Michael Brown and to FG. They're keeping Frimpong in their place there. Well done, guys. Well done. So we are less than 10 minutes now away from today's 4:30 p.m. kickoff. The point where I start to get nervous, Paul. We know this. My stomach is starting to jump. Before we get your final thoughts, should just say no disrespect to the midfield. We've not mentioned them today. We mentioned the attack and we've mentioned the defence. So we should just have a quick word. We did mention how important Kovacic and Bernardo Silva were going to be today, but let's just have a quick word on them so they're not left out, Paul.
Yeah, look, they're going to have to be said. They're going to have to be disciplined, especially the first 15, 20 minutes of the game. I think Mateo Kovacic has been fantastic since Rodri's been out, you know, and Bernardo, we all know, can pop up everywhere, but it's that discipline side of it. And then who's going to be the third one? Is it going to be Phil Foden? Or is it going to be Omar Marmoush? But, you know, the Arsenal is probably the strongest part of their team, you know, with Declan Rice, Partey, Odegaard in there, lots of quality, lots of energy, and we're going to have to match that in the middle of the park.
Yeah, absolutely. So, John, with just a few minutes before the game now, what sort of game are you expecting today?
Well, there's lots and lots of world-class, top players on show today. Very much looking to watching that great football from both sides. And they'll both, I think, have their moments. They've got too many great players who go forward, and you know, so much players who can create things, and that Havertz and Haaland, you know, two not big. Haaland's big, but Havertz is probably another 6-footer. Looking forward, you know, to watching them two play, how they link the play together. I'm expecting it to be an open game, and expecting it to be a lot of chances in the game. So for me, I really can't call it. You know, I'm not sitting on the fence here. It's a real tough one. But it's big in terms of, it's big for City because chasing that top 4 place, if you like. And it's big for Arsenal because, as I said at the start of the show, they will want to get closer to Liverpool. They can't just give up, you know, any aspirations of still catching Liverpool. You know, Arsenal's a big football club. They need to be up there.
Yeah, when you look at the table, Paul, it just, again, it highlights how big this game is. So City's currently sitting in 4th on 41 points. Then there's a 6-point gap to Nottingham Forest, who've played 24-47. Arsenal, who've played 23-47. So a 6-point gap. If we beat Arsenal today, we're just 3 points behind them, which sounds insane given the run that we went through.
Yeah, the run of losing games and not picking up points. And, you know, if you'd said before Christmas, even just after Christmas, that if we came to this Arsenal game, we beat them, we'd be 3 points behind them, we would have snapped our hands off.
Yeah,
you know. So we're in a really good run of form at the minute. We're back winning games. Like Johnny said, it's 2 teams with top quality teams in it, and you know there's pressure on City because we need to push into that top 4. But I think there's slightly a little bit more pressure on Arsenal today. It's the first time in a long time Arsenal get into this game as favourites. You know, Johnny said aspirations to keep on Liverpool's coattails a little bit. Pressure on us, yeah, but I think there's slightly more pressure on Arsenal to actually go out and win the game today. Because if they don't, and City do beat them, it's 3 points, there's going to be a lot of people asking questions about them.
Well, it's momentum as well, isn't it? You know, City have got that momentum now, and they don't want to be giving up that momentum, that feel-good factor where the boys are going in training, and they're feeling a lot more. Training's a nicer place to be when you're winning games. You know, he's in good spirits and everything else, and he's not getting asked questions in the media about not winning and things because they're on a great run. So, especially after the week they've had, one in the Champions League, beat Chelsea here last weekend, so they want to continue that winning role, and that's momentum. Then they go from win to win to win. You know, winning games, you know, creates great atmosphere, and you know, yeah.
Yeah, and when we've got Leyton Orient in the FA Cup next week, then Real Madrid, then Newcastle, then Real Madrid, then Liverpool. This is the
momentum.
Yes, this is absolutely time. OK, give me a score prediction, please. Oh, yes, and Spurs in there as well, yeah. But, you know. Paul?
I think it's going to be a tight game. As always, I think Manchester City are going to win 2-1 Man City.
OK, John, you
well,
can be honest, be honest.
Manchester City TV, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm honoured to be in this studio watching. It's a great game. But I'm going to go with my old club. I'm going to go with Arsenal, and I'll say 2-1.
OK. It's interesting that neither of you have gone for a draw, given the fact that Arsenal have played for a draw with us in the last few years.
Yeah. 2 draws are too boring.
Yes, completely agree. OK. And there we go. Look at that perfect timing there. Look at that. The teams are in the tunnel now. City in another gorgeous top there, by the way. We have some incredible jackets that we wear. So City lining up there. You can see there's Stefan Ortega. And Captain Bernardo Silva, I imagine a very proud moment for him. Again, one of the captaincies. And he is leading the team out today. So, if you're not watching on the Manchester City app, it is time to move over there now for your commentary by Alistair Mann and Michael Brown. We will all be here at half-time, where hopefully it's Paul and I smiling, and full-time as well. Fingers crossed. It's been a pleasure to have you, John. Thank you so much for coming and joining us in the studio. Thank you very much. You watching the game, or are you going for another nap?
I'll watch the game, I think. Do you know what, quickly, I love this. Look, both sets of players there, they're not high-fiving, hugging each other. Yeah, there's no interest, focused, go out there and do the job.
Old school, yes.
I love that.
Love that. Absolute focus. We'll see someone to barge each other when they're walking out now, and we'll be happy. Right, thank you very much for joining us on Matchday Live as well. Let's hand over now to Alistair Mann. Come on, Blues, we can do this one. Just 3 points off Arsenal by the end of the day.
It's one of the most mouth-watering fixtures in the footballing calendar. Whenever City meet Arsenal, there are incidents, drama and usually controversy in equal measures. And though unlike in previous years, the two are not neck and neck in the title race, it is still a match they both thirst to win and are desperate not to lose. And though Liverpool are disappearing off into the distance, the significance of a win to either side cannot be underestimated. It would certainly cement City's position within the top 4 and extend their current unbeaten Premier League run to 7 as they start to rebuild after that troubling November and early December. Well, Arsenal had the luxury of being able to rest key players in midweek with their Champions League last 16 place all but secure. And they've made 7 changes to Wednesday's win at Girona. There's just one alteration, though, to the 11 which won at Wolves last weekend. It sees Martin Ødegaard replace Ethan Nwaneri. Lewis Skelly keeps his place as his red card at Molineux was rescinded